My name is Paul Merrill. I'm a trainer at Beaufort Fairmont, and today I'll be walking through an example of test-driven development. For this example, I'm using the well-known and often asked interview question, write code that determines if the string is a palindrome. For our purposes, a palindrome is defined as a string that reads the same forward as backwards. For this example, I'm using Eclipse, Indigo, Java 6, and JUnit 4. To begin, I'll create a project for us to work with. I've called it Palindrome. There are only 3 steps to TDD. Create a failing test, make the test pass, and reduce duplication. We'll start by creating a failing test. I'm creating a JUnit 4 test, calling it Palindrome, and clicking Finish. Eclipse creates a test case called test, and it makes it fail with the output not yet implemented. I start by running this test. I'm expecting it to fail. We always start with a red bar. I want to take small steps, so I'm creating a test for the simplest palindrome I can think of, a 1-character string called A. I'm coding by intention, creating the test I want with the code I want and nothing else. I use the assert true method from JUnit to say this test case will pass if palindrome's isPalindrome method returns true for the argument A. Next, I create the private field palindrome in the test case. I declare this field of type palindrome, once again by intention. I intend to create the class palindrome. Now I'll create it using Eclipse's quick fix feature. Eclipse gives us an empty class. I have one last compiler error. The isPalindrome method is not defined. Once again, I'll use the quick fix feature to create the method. By default, it returns false. What's the simplest thing that could possibly work to make this test pass? Just return true. Oops, I almost forgot to instantiate palindrome. I do that, and when I run the test, it gives me a green bar. Now let's try something a little harder. Remember, we want to take small steps that we know how to complete with very little thought and as few pauses as possible. One of the great things about TDD is it gets you writing more code faster, and software engineers love writing code. Anytime you find yourself stuck or stopped or thinking, figure out what the next step and manageable test should be that you can write and resolve quickly. In this case, I'm going to deal with the simplest case where a palindrome returns false, 2 letters which are different. The simplest solution is obvious. In a universe where strings are only 2 letters, I only have to check the first and the last character. I run the test, and it passes. That was easy. Anytime I get a test case for free, I go ahead and create it. It occurs to me that this solution also works for all 3-character palindromes, so I'm creating a test case for ABA. Of course, we know we have a problem. We're only checking the first and the last characters. We need to check them all. What's next? Write a test case that identifies this issue. Let's write a test where isPalindrome should fail, but doesn't. I'll try the string ABCA. As we expected, it failed. From here, I can't think of an intermediate step to get us to our solution, so I'm going to go ahead and solve for all cases. I'll cycle through the characters from left to right in the string with the counter I, and from back to front with the counter J, using one for loop. Remember, I'm solving this problem with the simplest thing that could possibly work. Many of you will find issues with this solution. I see a few issues myself, but I'm only writing the code I need and nothing else. Most business problems can be solved in simple ways, saving the company money and future programmers headaches. You'll also notice I continue to code by intention, only declaring variables and methods once I've used them. Now I'll run the test we expected to pass. And we need to try a few more test cases. Let's try something we know as a palindrome, radar. This test passes. I wonder if there's an issue with even number character strings. Let's just add a character to something that is a palindrome and make sure it works as well.
For those of you who are new to test-driven development, I hope this example has given you a good introduction. I'd like to have more demos online soon using different techniques and introducing more complicated scenarios. I highly recommend Kent Beck's book, Test-Driven Development by Example. At Beaufort Fairmont, we've trained numerous teams in TDD. The most successful of these teams have gone on to ingrain TDD into their process. After purchasing our training, one client recently reported a project team implemented a new application with 99% code coverage and 20% ahead of schedule with no major defects. Executives are still in a state of astonishment. Beaufort Fairmont provides 3-day courses in test-driven development and can provide them at your company's location upon request and depending upon availability. If you're an individual interested in TDD training, contact us or check out our website for the next available course in your area. Email us at training@beaufortfairmont.com or call us at 1-888-385-4851. For more information, check us out at beaufortfairmont.com.